it's taken a few years for me to kind of realize how cool and unique that experience was. Even when I was out there, you know, you sit on the back of a crocodile, you're thinking, this is stupid. This is mental.
Yeah, so I wanted to move on to a stage in your life which I think came chronologically before we talk about New York, and that's coaching football in Ghana. Is that correct?
That is correct, mate. Yeah, way before New York.
We'll go chronological then. So
Nice.
For a guy that's, you say yourself, spent holidays in England, been to Almeria, how did the idea of going to Ghana to coach football come about?
Really randomly. And it's one of those things where if I hadn't gone to university, you know, it's definitely not something I would have pursued or would have maybe, just been given the opportunity. Maybe pursued's the wrong word. A guy, an ex-student from Nottingham, I think he'd been graduated 4 or 5 years by the time he put this event on, let's say, and it coincided with my second year. And it was about living with a family in Ghana for, 2-3 months, doing a form of volunteering of your choice. So you could kind of make the experience to what you wanted to do. And me and my roommate Sean were just like, yeah, we'll keep it simple. We'll coach football. By the way, they, did not need our minimal footballing expertise. They were absolutely outstanding when we got out there, like really innovative, really well drilled. Obviously Ghana is a football nation that is steeped, in great pedigree, great footballing pedigree. So it was more of I suppose a novelty for the kids we were coaching when we were out there, right? Because in some of the cities like Kumasi, we went to, some of the other names escape me, that more smaller remote villages. We tended to be in the north. They hadn't seen, these young kids hadn't seen a white person before. So like we were happy to be that novelty for them. But yeah, it just came about literally notice board stuff, looked cool. Went to a few meetings. The people that went there that were also interested in it, pretty interesting characters themselves. And it turned out to be the only year they did it at the University of Nottingham. Yeah, like I think they had ambitions to make it a yearly thing. But it turned out to be the only year. And it's taken a few years for me to kind of realize how cool and unique that experience was. Even when I was out there, you sit on the back of a crocodile, you're thinking, this is stupid. This is mental. It's not something I think when you got that sense of wonderment and adventure in your uni, and you think the possibilities are endless. You think that sort of thing might happen every other year, but it doesn't. So yeah, it was great, man. Like I'd recommend it to anyone. And the people we live with, unbelievable. So just generous. And the guy was called Mr. Hattie, real eccentric, elaborate dress sense, had a peacock, had an antelope.
Wow.
The mother there, it was called Moda, which I think is Ghanaian for mother. We didn't realize we were calling her mother at the time, but it just referred to as Moda. He had 3 or 4 kids, just all really welcoming, and a week in, you just find yourself sat around the TV watching like Nigerian X Factor, like it's nothing. And it was great, man. It was really good.
To go into a bit more detail on that, you're there for 3 months, your living conditions, you're living with a family then. So where were you sleeping at night? Was it a real culture shock for you?
Yeah, but it's something you arrive and, you feel uncomfortable and you are filled with doubt, because we went to Accra, which is the capital. And then we got a bus all the way up north to where we were staying. And that in itself, like the capital is not a massive culture shock. Obviously there's like there's shanties, and there is poverty that you don't witness in the UK, but there's still like the basic amenities, or not even, basic in most cases. But then that bus journey takes you into like the wilderness, cultural wilderness, let's say. And you leave everything and you're just diving head on into something you've never encountered before. And there was a bit of trepidation, particularly when you stop overnight in not a hotel, I don't even know how to describe it, just a room, just a white room with beds where the mat, there's cockroaches pinging about. And you think, what, I've jumped into the deep end here, the proverbial deep end, and I've got nowhere to go. So you kind of have no other option but to suck it up. But then the more you offload that tension and open your receptors to other things, like the easier it gets. And fundamentally, I would like to think we stayed with the best host. Mr. Hattie was in my eyes, the most generous, caring man in the whole continent at that point. But he would do little things to make you feel at home. Little fried egg sandwiches in the morning with his own little twist on it, like shaven green peppers in the white,
nice.
which I'd never seen before. There was a little cheese out there called wagashi that was deep fried in the street, sort of a bit like halloumi, which would kind of fetch on the way home we'd learn to love. There was a stall opposite us where the woman who we used to buy a Coke off every day, and you take the bottles back, right? Because if they return the bottles to the factory, they'd get money for that.
Yeah.
Eventually we just arrived at a deal where she'd just drop 6 Cokes off at our house every morning. Like, she'd send one of the kids over, and then we'd send them back with the money. Then we'd bring the bottles back, and you build a little relationship there. Obviously the English is pretty good. Owing to historical circumstances in a lot of instances. So, you're trying to take 20, 30 kids for a football session, and lo and behold, it's 12 o'clock, it's blazing sun smashing down on you midday. You start to feel faint, and you being Johnny Foreigner have to go and sit under a tree while these kids just do what they want with a football.
So there's so many positives from that trip. It sounds like a great experience, but obviously going from England to Ghana, you're going to see poverty, which you've said you've not seen before. And it's probably going to be a bit of an eye-opening experience. Did you learn anything from that which you've taken on to your life going forward?
Yeah, definitely. My dad, when I was younger, used to say, like, this house is a castle and you just don't appreciate it. And I think it's then that you kind of, you hear at moments like that, you hear that voice, my dad's voice saying that, and it all kind of clicks into place. And it is, you have a heightened appreciation for what you've got. And that might be a little bit transient. It might, come and go. But like most well-traveled people will say, and it does ring very true, the poorest people are generally the people who go out of their way to do the most for you in that instance. That's what I found. Maybe not to... You subconsciously have a bias. You subconsciously judge people by the immediate physical surroundings. Like, I don't think we can help it. It's a form of survival, right? But you learn to appreciate, I guess, the nuance a little bit more when you stay there, when you appreciate, these people are sometimes just victims of circumstance. And the only thing that's really separating you is the fact you were fortunate enough to be born in a more affluent, country, and you kind of fundamentally have the same principles. Where we were staying, it was a very mixed community as well. There was Muslims, Christians, the mosques would go off at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't always appreciate that. I have my pillow over the top of my head thinking I've got a coach, like a whole village in about 2 hours. And I've not even thought of, a training regime, never mind being woken up at 4 o'clock. But you just, I think it takes, 2 or 3 weeks to really become a porous and just kind of soak in your surroundings. But yeah, I think just a heightened appreciation for how mostly normal people are, how mostly normal most people are.